Um, Good afternoon. I am architect and I'm doing my PhD in Architectural Graphic Expression Department at ETSAP in the Polytechnical University of Catalonia. The purpose of my research is to study the interactions between architecture, photography, and space. It's working? Oh, sorry. In the Renaissance period, artists started to study the perspective. We can see here a sham of Brunelleschi analyzing the space and studying the way to convert these three-dimensional points in two-dimensional drawings. Also, Duret represents in a very simple way this process of drawing with these two grids, one vertical that allows him to convert the space in lines projected in the plane, and an horizontal grid on the table for drawing all these lines. Canaletto started to use the pinhole camera, the first type of cameras, as a support for his drawings. It's this light that goes through the box that writes the pictures as the definition itself of photography. For architecture and photography, senses are very important, and especially the hands, as we can see here in this sketch of the architect Álvaro Siso, these hands drawing hands. This process of creation is this sketch of Álvaro Aalto. He uses the draw as a process, similar to the abstract art, guided by the instinct to draw the main idea of the building that appears from an abstract base. This process of creation, as Palasma says, produces three different kinds of images. The drawing that appears on the paper, the same we can see here of architect Niemeyer, and also a visual image recorded in our brain and a muscle memory of the act of drawing itself. Photography appears in the 19th century. This is one of the first pictures that we have. The photographer stayed 8 hours for taking this picture. As Català Roca says, for taking a photo, you have to visit the site, then think about it, and eventually look back and find the angle or vision that sums and expresses the most eloquent possible way. This process of research, of explaining the space through photography, as we can see in this David Hockney collage, this mix of images, he's trying to represent all the movement around the space, trying to capture all the elements that are around him, while Annie Leibovitz photographed him. Perec says, our look moves around and we build the space. We move above and below, a left and right, a front, a back, and close and afar. Also with this picture of Erza Stola, she explains the difficulty of making the photo that has to represent the idea of the architect wants to express of a building. It is very important, this relation between the architect, the photographer, and the space. This unique image, this idea that we have in our mind, and that also Italo Calvino, in his adventure of a photographer, wanted to find. It is possible to be captured, or maybe it's this blur image that we have in our brain and that Hiroshi Sugimoto represents here in these two pictures, these dissolved images, as he says, that make the superlative architecture survive. To sum up, what do you remember more in your mind of the Barcelona Mies van der Rohe pavilion? Maybe the final drawings, maybe the first sketches of Mies, you can see it left side image, or maybe this dissolved photo of Thomas Roof. What I'm trying to find in my thesis is the limits, the boundaries between architecture and photography, and the way they understand the space. As Palasma says, architectural space is lived space rather than physical space, and lived space always transcends geometry and measurability. Thanks for your attention.